Started with a party. That's Lenny style. Make sure I can hear the bass on there. Oh, you don't have the bass layer in there yet. I don't have the bass playing there.
It would be behind it. Let me just play.
It'll be right here. Let's hear it. Oh, you're gonna switch. Okay, here we go. I think we need more
bass. I can do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have the bass. I don't have the bass. Can you all hear the bass? Oh, I'll turn this off. Here, actually, can you maybe bring the bass speaker to the, so it's facing this microphone? Yeah? Why don't we do that? Huh? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can you all hear the bass? Let me know.
We have a yes.
Is that a yes? You can hear the bass? Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, they're saying they can hear the bass clearly, so that's good.
Yep, get a little flicker. Good.
Yeah, that's good.
All right,
okay,
we're
good.
live, huh?
Yay!
Yay!
Hey, everyone. This is our real-time monitor.
Ooh.
Yeah. Softly but clear. Okay, turn it up. Oh, some people say it's loud and clear. Just depends on what you're listening on, too.
It depends if you got the laptop speakers or the Bose headphones.
Yeah. Everybody, welcome.
Hey.
This is Lenny. Yay!
Hey, guys.
Okay, who do we have online? I'll let you know who we have online. So let us know on the chat if you are playing a bass or you have an ukulele, or if you're just kind of observing for fun. If you hear an echo, refresh, please. Yeah? There shouldn't be an echo, or maybe you have two windows open. I see Carol and Leah, who's popping in, but on her way out. Arlene, hi Arlene. Arlene's in Australia. Marianne, Carolyn from Vermont. Chris in LA. Linda in Redondo Beach. Cool. Randall in Boston. Judy in Mammoth Lakes. Yeah, Wendy from Alabama. Donna watching for fun. Sue in Ontario. A lot of people in the cold parts. Robin O and Frank in Salt Lake City. Cool. Okay. Deborah and Dee. Hi, Dee. Haven't seen you online before, so that's cool. Karen. Also haven't seen you online, so that's great. Welcome. Pleasanton. Betty. And let's see. Okay. So Linda's got a bass. Deborah's got a bass. Carol's got bass and uke. Judy's got a bass. Randall's got a bass. Marian's on her uke. Betty has a bass. Karen has a bass. All right. Donald has no bass. Jillian, hi, in Tucson. Cookie Ideas. Hi, Cookie in Pittsburgh. Stark Sound Lab. Oh, cool. Oh, Julie from Oakville and has a bass. Cool.
Nice. Lowest four strings of the guitar. Australia. That works, yeah.
Yeah, single tax banjo using the lowest four strings. Sue is also bass and bass guitar. Cool. Nice. Okay.
So we'll talk about mostly bass then. It seems like just a couple of people only have uke. If you do only have a uke, you're going to play with the E and A strings today. And you're going to try to follow along with just your E and A strings as they match our bass. For the bass, our strings are E, A, D, G. So you'll see if you're a ukulele player, you can play on my top strings, E, A, with your bottom strings. And hopefully you can kind of work your way around the material and be able to kind of play a few bass lines on your uke. So good afternoon. Should we get started?
Yeah!
Yeah, I know.
I'm the
resounding
student.
yes, resounding yes from the audience. So funny. All right, so hopefully you have your U Basics with Ukulenny packet. Ooh, yeah.
Look, we have another student.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's a joke. She's gonna join us.
Chewy, where's your bass?
Yeah,
I'm like, I just have a bone.
All right, so this is a packet that I put together called U Basics, and basically, to use a bass pun, basically, I figured that a lot of ukulele players who are in ukulele groups and who are comfortable with playing the ukulele might consider learning the bass just so that they can enhance their group. In fact, when I was starting in an ukulele club in Berkeley, California, it was called Temple Bar. It was actually a restaurant on University Ave in Berkeley, and we met Monday nights, and we just had ukuleles, and it had that nice jingle jangle sound of 50 ukuleles in a room, and it was great. But one day we came in for their monthly Sunday luau, and at this luau they have a real upright bass player. It was actually Uncle Kem was the leader of the group, and it was Kem Jr., his son, who played the bass. And once he added the bass to the group, my world changed. I was like, this is how it's supposed to sound. Kind of Kapila with tons of ukes and just one bass player sounds so much sweeter than just all the ukes by themselves. So as you, fellow ukulele players who are just chiming in on the bass just to help your group out, my main kind of approach and philosophy is that really all you need to do is play the roots of the chord, and you're already adding a whole lot to your group. So what if you learn nothing today except how to play the roots of the chords as you're playing the through an ukulele chart, you're already gonna get paid as a bass player. Basically, I say, like, you're already ready for your first gig if you can play all the roots. And as you know, a lot of us ukulele players have really beginner songs. So if you learn a bunch of beginner songs on the bass, you already have a set list and you're already gonna do your job. You're basically doing your job if you play the roots. So chapter 1, the roots. Where are you gonna find these? There is a so the root of the chord. We talk about our chords: C, A minor, F, D minor, G, E7. They all have letters, and some of them have numbers, and some of them have minor. But the root note is always the name of the chord. So whether it's B flat diminished 7 flat 5, or E7 11, or C sharp 4, it's always that first letter that we're gonna find on the bass. So you'll see a little chart with all the main letters of the I don't know.
Yeah, why don't you give me one, that way I can show.
Yeah, so you'll see a kind of pictorial tab version of all the letters. There you go. Yeah, that's it right there. And you'll see that it's written out like tabs. So you'll see our notes, G, D, A, E. And you'll see the fret numbers on the bottom. Yeah. And those are all the letter names as per the fretboard. So on the E string, you'll have 1st fret F, 3rd fret G, 5th fret A. So if I was reading on the E string, I'd go E, and then I'd find F, which is the 1st fret, and then I'd find G, which is the 3rd fret. And uke players, you can do this too. You're on the E string, 3rd fret, that's called G. Oh, yeah. Then you have the 5th fret, which is A. Then the 7th fret, which is B. And the 8th fret, which is C. Should we try that again? Let's try that again.
Okay.
E string, open, E. 1st fret, F. You can do this with your index finger, that's fine. 3rd fret, G. 5th fret, A. 7th fret, B. 8th fret, C. And so that's that bottom line of that grid that we just saw. Then you can keep going, and then A string, 2nd fret B, 3rd fret C, 4th fret D. These are all the letter names. And if you know your chromatic scale, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, you can fill in the blanks yourself. But mainly, if you know all of those notes on the fretboard, you'll be pretty good, because you'll be able to play almost every note that you'll see in a standard chord chart. Okay, so go ahead and turn the page. So page 2, I've taken some information away. I know there's a lot of books out there that have all the information all at once, and it's like the difference of looking at a chord dictionary versus looking at the chords on the top of a song. Taking it all away, we have this. If you show them the top one right there, this top piece right there is just the first couple of letters, And these are where we're going to be playing our first couple of chords. So you'll see it starts on the open E string.
Yeah, that's
and then you'll see the third
E.
fret G. And then open A string. Third fret C. Now I've put D here on the 5th fret. D, 5th fret on the A string. And then F is the 3rd fret of the D string.
So Lenny, here you're highlighting the notes of the C scale that would be important to play. Yeah?
Exactly. So that, as a bass player, you can choose to play the root anywhere on your bass and you're doing your job. Again, you're doing what you're supposed to do as a bassist. But when we're learning, it's best to just memorize one place to do it. Every time I see a C, I'm always going to go 3rd fret on the A string and play that note, okay? All right, so we can play already a bunch of beginner songs in the key of C major. Look at our C major songs, Roar. So we have C, 3rd fret, and you can use any finger at this point. It doesn't really matter what finger you're using. I'm using my middle finger on the C.
Yep, so 3rd fret.
3rd fret is C,
right.
And then we're
A
just gonna play
string.
the
3rd fret is your
open,
C.
yep. And then we're just gonna play the open A. Just let go. So I have C, and I have A. And so Roar is basically 4 counts per letter. So we're gonna go C, 2, ready, C. 1, 2, 3, 4, C again. Then let go A, back to the C, go C, 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 A now. And now with the chords, back to C. Used to bite my tongue and hold my breath, scared to rock the boat, A minor's next, blah, 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 blah. Open A and next, 3rd fret, you held me down, but I got up. Hey, get ready, cause I had enough. Hey, see it all, see it here. I got the eye of the sea tiger, fighter, dancing through the fire. A minor, open A, champion, and you're gonna hear me see. Roar louder, louder than a lion. A minor, a champion, and you're gonna hear me see. Roar, A minor, you're gonna hear me. And then 3rd fret on the A string, roar. And on the bass you can just go bum 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 bum. Same thing, one note, bum. And you got it. Okay, so that's C and A. Good to just remember those. There are some purists on the bass who will say that, don't avoid open strings like at all times, because you can't control open strings the same way you can control strings that you're holding. But in the beginning, just forget that mess. You're just trying to play all the notes. So open A is totally fine to use. It's super easy to get there. You got C and A. Now, this next song, Just the Way You Are, we're gonna add F. So we have C, 3rd fret A string. Then we have A, open A string. Then you're gonna go down from where C is to the next string, 3rd fret on the D string, and you have F. And then you go right back to C.
String, yeah.
Yeah, C. So again, C, open A, and then you go down to the D string, 3rd fret, F, and then back up to C. And then it's the same thing. Now, if you want, with some of these songs, and to talk about, like, when you talk about ook, you talk about strum patterns. So when you talk about bass, you try to talk about patterns that match those strum patterns. Basically, what am I supposed to play? Quarter notes? Am I supposed to play, what we're going to do right now is we're going to play 8th notes. So when we have rock strum songs, like down, 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 up, down, 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 up, our bass is going to match it with 8th notes. So that's how we're going to play it. And we got a question over here. When you're strumming the bass, is it at the end of the fretboard or behind the sound hole? That's a very good question. So it's almost, for me, and this is where it kind of gets particular with the U bass, because a lot of bassists are very pure about the kind of sound they want, right? With the U bass, I almost treat it the same way as an ukulele in that I like to play close to the neck right here. So I'm almost playing the bass in the same area that I would play the ukulele, which is above the sound hole. I know this is confusing because this doesn't have a sound hole.
I mean, mine doesn't really have one. Yeah.
Imagine the sound hole here. I would be playing like north of the sound hole here. However, there's like a school of thought that the bass should sound like, and that is all the way by the bridge. It's a totally different sound. It's more funky. It's more vibrant. It's more bright. And some people play like here all the time. And it's a little bit more high-pitched as the bass can sound. So I would say standard is going to be right here. And then just play with it. And the other thing is I play with my thumb a lot. And part of this is because I'm an ukulele player primarily. So I always have long fingernails. A bass player usually plays with their two fingers, index and middle. But my index and middle finger always have long fingernails. So it doesn't work for me. So actually the thumb is my preferred weapon of choice for the U bass. And again, bassists will say, oh, you don't ever just use your thumb. You always use this. Forget it. You're a U bass player. Do something a little different. And also, if you're already an ukulele player, your thumb will suit you well because hopefully you use your thumb a lot. So you'll be able to transfer those skills onto the bass. All right, so we got C, A minor, F, C. We're going to play eighth notes. So start on the C. 1, 2, ready, and C, 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 C. A minor, open. Now middle finger on the D string, ready, and F. Back to the C now, C. C again, ready, and her eyes make the stars look like they're A minor.
We just worked on this yesterday.
Her hair falls perfectly without her F chord. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. See how it really accents what the uke is doing. Oh, I know, when I compliment her, she won't believe. Hey, it's so sad to think that she don't see what F. But every time she asks me, do I look okay? I say, when I see your face, see, open A, then I would change F chord, 'cause you're amazing. There you go, third fret. Just the way you are. And then C again. When you smile, the whole world stops and stands for a while. Third fret, 'cause you're amazing. Just the way you are. Alright, let's slow it down and hit the C. Just one time. Yeah, so see, just three notes. Just like you would with chords, you just learn the position of your fingers, and then you just play some sort of rhythm. Now, these ones are pretty simple. They're both rock strum sounds. So now we'll talk about a different rhythm. We'll go to Stand By Me.
But that alone that we just did is enough to get you a gig as a bass player.
Yeah, exactly. So you already have two songs that you can play with the bass along with ukuleles, and it will add so much. I mean, you notice that when you just play ukulele, it theoretically speaking, with the piano, the ukulele starts at middle C and goes up. So you're missing like half of the piano, if you can think of it in piano terms. Once you add the bass, you fill in all the blanks. Then your ear is satisfied with like so many frequencies That's why when you have a moment where the ukulele is playing first, when's the bass gonna drop? And then it's like, oh, that's the full sound that I'm looking for. So it does add a lot.
Hi, Eric. I see Eric's comment. He's asking, am I playing a Hutch Hutchinson U-bass like Brian Liu? Brian was using my U-bass.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Yes.
Don't get it twisted, Eric. Don't get it twisted, all right? Cynthia's bass.
Eric played bass on Hotel California in class.
Yeah, I heard. That's awesome. Yeah, sorry, Eric. I haven't responded to your email yet. We'll get that lesson going soon.
Carol's asking, when striking the string, do you pull through with your fingertip until it comes to rest on the string above it? Ooh,
very good. So,
question.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, like, I would say, if you're doing like a rhythm, like the one we're about to do is where you actually have time to do that, it is nice to hang on the other string. So like my thumb is following through what you would call a rest stroke on a classical guitar or an ukulele. If you're doing it, index finger, same thing. You would rest on the next string if you have time. But when we're doing something like this, it's a lot harder to do that. Don't waste your time trying to touch the other string when you're trying to alternate like that. When you're trying to go so fast. But yeah, when you have a chance, it is nice to be able to rest your finger on the next thing. Okay. All right. So let's look at. Actually, before we do Stand By Me, let's go ahead and do Three Little Birds. We're gonna do Three Little Birds as a again with quarter notes, just so that we can get now this pattern of jumping, okay? The reason why I laid out these notes the way I did is because our C, F, and G are all on the same fret. It's very nice to start learning like that. So the C is kind of in the middle of the bunch.
Third
C
fret.
is third fret on the A string, right? Now if I jump down a string, I get F. So try that. Go to C, and then jump down for F, and then jump back to C. Now if I want to play G, I jump up from C. So I go top string, third fret, G, and then back to C. So everyone play F, back to C, up to G, back to C. So you only have 3 places to remember, and they're all on the third fret. So we're going to start with C, and we're just going to play quarter notes. So 4 quarter notes for every letter, starting with the verse of Three Little Birds. Here we go. C, 1, 2, 3. Don't worry. C again. About a thing. C again. C, now down to F, 'cause every little thing. Back to the C, alright. Easy, right? There you are on C. Stay there. Sing and don't worry about a thing. Now down to the F, 'cause every little thing. And back to the C, alright. Good. Stay there. Rise up this morning. Get ready to jump up to G. Smile with the rising sun. Back to the C. Three little birds. That's home, baby. Pitch by down to F. Doorstep. Back down, back up to C. Singing sweet songs. Now up to G. Melodies pure and true. This is the only hard part. All the way down to F. Singing jump. This is my message to. Back to C. You. Try it one more time. C, 2, 3. Don't worry.
I'll play it
A
close
C,
for you.
C about a thing. Down to the F, 'cause every little thing, yeah. Gonna back to C. That's home. Home base right there. Don't forget it. Sing and don't worry about a thing. Get ready to jump down to F, 'cause every little thing. Back to C, pitch by my doorstep. Back to C, singing sweet songs. And up to G, pure and true. Now the hard part right here, all the way to F, sing and jump. This is my back to C to you. Yeah.
Good. Wendy has a question. Can you not bar the third fret on the bass?
So, very good question there. You could bar the bass, but oftentimes we don't. Oftentimes we just don't because for whatever reason, there's a lot more tension on the bass, so it's just a lot more stressful to bar notes on the bass. And you're always playing one note at a time for the most part until you're jamming, My Sharia more on the bass, but that's later. Yeah, so even if I was to say bar it, do something like that, where my finger's flat, I'm actually not squeezing on multiple strings at the same time. So what I'm actually doing is I'm putting my finger here, but if I want to play C, I just lean towards the C. I don't necessarily squeeze on everything the whole time. And overall, I wouldn't worry about something like that because you're mostly training yourself to jump around.
You also kind of want to focus on putting the pressure just on the one note you're playing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One thing a little extra on the bass is that when you play and you release the tension, you end the note. And as bassists, you really don't want to let a lot of notes ring because it gets really muddy. If I was playing Three Little Birds and I was going and I was going back and forth between the two notes and I was playing them both, it would just sound, see, that's two notes at the same time.
Like a chord.
Yeah, it's a chord. It doesn't sound good on the bass. It's not what you're trying to do. Okay?
So, couple questions here. Randall's asking, are your strings nylon, mine are rubber? And then Heidi's asking, fret or fretless?
Very good. These are you-based questions. Yeah. I like that. So, my strings are Kala's round wound strings. These are my favorite. This bass I'm holding is a Journeyman, which is like one of the cheapest ones you can buy, which is really cool. It comes standard with metal strings, metal round wound strings. I like metal round wound strings for two reasons. One, I feel like it's more punchy. You can hear more of the note when you're playing versus the rubber strings, which tends to sound muddy. The other thing I really love about round wound strings is even when you're not plugged in, you can, even if you're not plugged in, you can still kind of hear it. So it's really good for rehearsing and just sitting around.
Mine, with the rubber, you can't really hear that much.
Yeah, you can't hear it as much as you can hear metal ones. So those are my two reasons I advocate for metal. But that being said, there's so many players who love rubber strings. For whatever reason, they do like the feel of rubber strings better than the metal strings. Maybe just because they're softer and they're lighter. It's a little bit easier to pluck than metal. And the other thing is people actually think it sounds more wompy, like an upright bass. So some people like how it simulates either an upright bass or a tuba versus a traditional electric bass, which I prefer the sound of like a legit electric bass.
I think the metal strings are a little bit harder to play.
They are a little bit harder to play.
Yeah. So if you're more of a beginner, especially for ukulele players, like I come from playing guitar, so I've played metal strings before and know how much they hurt.
Yeah, they do hurt.
So starting with rubber might be the first place to start before you move to the metal strings.
Yes.
Fret or fretless?
Fret or fretless. So
there's frets on this.
Yeah, so I'm using frets so that you can follow like what I'm doing because on the fretless bass it's a little bit more confusing.
You have your fretless over here.
Fretless basses don't actually have frets, obviously, because they're fretless, but they do have lines. When you are playing on a fretless bass, you have to be right on the line.
Yeah.
So versus a fret where you can kind of be anywhere within the boundaries of the fret, on a fretless bass you have to be right on, nail on the head, right there, right in line with where the line goes. Now, one of the things when I first bought a fretless bass was that I knew I was buying like a cheaper fretless bass than a more expensive, nicer model. And when you buy cheaper instruments, you run into possibilities of intonation issues. So I've played a fretted bass that was not very good, and one note was always out of tune. It's like you can't use a bass where one note is always going to be out of tune. On a fretless bass, you can always make adjustments to make sure that you're in tune.
I see.
And I grew up playing the cello. So when I was playing the cello, I practiced making these adjustments. So it's very similar on this bass to just listen and go, okay, that's a little flat. I'm going to move that note into tuning. And so that was like my first reason to get a fretless bass. But the more I played fretless, the more I really liked the sound of just sliding like you would on an upright. How you get a little bit of that sound I don't know, it just sounds like a little bit iconic for me listening to bass records and things like that. You can do more uprighty sounding things on this
bluesy.
Bluesy, jazz music. I don't know, for me also it's a little bit more fun to play this. I don't know why. It feels like it's a sort of like a math problem solving nerdy thing to always try to be right on, but it feels so gratifying when you're spot on the note.
It's more demanding musically.
It is more demanding, yeah, because you have to memorize exactly where to put your fingers. So again, if you're trying to start on a uke, or if you're starting on a U bass,
First, Carol saying, so you're saying we need 2 U basses, one with wound round and one with rubber, and okay, we need 3 U basses,
yeah.
2 fretted and 1 fretless.
My answer is just one more.
How many
U basses do you need? Just one more.
My answer when people ask, how many ukes do you have? I always say, too many.
Too many. Yeah, too many. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell. Again, if you're just beginning, fretless is more advanced. Metal strings is more advanced. So, if you want to just start out with something, probably rubber fretted would be the way to go.
Like this.
And you can always get them switched out. So
yeah,
don't worry about the strings too much. All right, so where were we?
Stand By Me.
Stand By Me, yeah, let's go on. Okay, so that was Three Little Birds, so hopefully you remember where all these notes are. Stand By Me uses all 4. So you have C, 3rd fret. That's your home. That's like the C chord for us ukulele players. If you don't know anything, at least know where C is. Right, so there's C. And then open A. Now you're going to jump down for F. 3rd fret, and back to C. Or sorry,
no,
G.
G.
All the way across, G. And then back to C. Try that again. C is A string, 3rd fret. Then release. Then go down for F. And all the way up for G. And then back to C. All right, let's try quarter notes. Again, reading along with the bold letters 4 times for each quarter note. So here's C. 1, 2, ready, C, C. C again. Now let go for A. A again. Now F down. G up. Back to C. Yeah. Here you're on the second line there. No, I won't be afraid. No, let go. A won't be afraid. Bottom F. Just as long. There you go. And all the way up for G. As you stand. Back to C. Stand by me. Keep going C. This one.
Yeah.
Stand by me. Oh, A minor. Stand by me. Oh, stand F. All the way up for G. Stand by C. Stand by C, darling. C again. And then open A. Bottom for F. Oh, stand. Top for G. Stand back to C. Stand back C. All right. So now you have the good map of where that is. That's like, to me, that's the equivalent of if you're a ukulele player, playing through the chords of the song. Just play it through, play all quarter notes, and then you'll know how they move, where the notes are. So I'm gonna play the
That's pretty much how I play bass.
Yeah, and again, you're gonna get paid if you play all quarter notes. It doesn't even really matter. We don't mind. We just want to hear that low end. All right, so now I'm gonna lay down this strum pattern again, because again, with strum patterns, you're gonna want to mimic with proper rhythms. So with this strum pattern, the island strum, you're going to play this rhythm. You're gonna play boom, 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 and boom. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and. You can try that at home. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1 now. 1, 2, So take every note. Here we are on C. 1, 2, ready, and C, 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 open A, 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 F, 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 G, C, 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 again, C, C, again, C, C, A, 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 then F, 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 top G, back to C. Alright, and you see that interlocks along with the island strum. So that down, down, up is where you're playing. Down, up, hit, and hit. You're gonna match up with your ukulele player. So if they're doing island strum, that's the rhythm you're gonna wanna try to do. Okay? Rock strum, you just do quarter notes, and island strum, you can do that. That's outlined in kind of the rhythm section of the U-bass packet. That's one of the rhythms that you want to memorize and remember. Cool. Along with that, you might do this rhythm, which is boom, 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 boom. It's kind of like a reggaeton. Darling, darling, boom, boom. Yeah, and that sounds a little repetitive with the same note, but as you learn more notes, which we'll get into the next section. See, I'm taking that rhythm, but I'm applying other notes to it.
This is all actually a sales promo.
Exactly. This is part of the game.
Actually, Lenny is too humble to like try to sell stuff, but his enthusiasm is a natural seller. Yeah.
Well, see, I'm addicted to buying stuff, so I always it's contagious. I just pass on my addiction to you guys, and now you want to buy stuff.
It's fun to buy instruments.
I know, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
And U-basses are way cheaper than real basses. So
Wendy asked, "Is it harder to sing with the
yes,
with the bass?"
It's very hard to sing with the bass. Now, when you do quarter notes, you know, if you play in a punk band or a rock band where you're just playing on the beat, it's easy. But oftentimes the bass is doing interlocking parts with whatever the rhythm section is doing. So you're playing a bunch of notes and you're still trying to concentrate when you're singing. I think I've just gotten the hang of playing bass and singing over the past maybe year is really where I've tried to hone in on being able to do both. And a lot of it's because I do a loop pedal show when I perform, and I get a lot of practice playing the bass and singing. But it's hard. I don't know how Sting does it.
It's a lot of rhythmic work.
Yeah, it's a lot of practice. In the same way that a strum pattern that is difficult makes it harder to sing along, that's like your whole life as a bass player.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to sing something super smooth while the bass is being super funky and rigid and staccato. Syncopated, yeah. Yeah, it is very hard.
Yeah.
All right.
Shall we keep going?
Yeah, let's move on. So those are kind of basic songs. You can you can get by with other songs the same way. Again, if you know the roots of the chords and you can play them in quarter notes, you can accompany the song. And then everything is extra. So what kind of extra stuff are we talking about? Rhythms we just discussed, but now let's talk about notes. Okay, more notes.
So we're skipping chapter 2.
Yeah, and we kind of talked. We talked a little bit about
chapter 2. Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Lenny even wrote out the dotted rhythm here.
Yeah, so these are some of the rhythms.
So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4
yeah.
and 1 and 2 and 3 4.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So he wrote out the rhythms. If you want to look at that too.
You
You want me to
All
get
right.
you some tea? You okay?
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay.
Power through. All right, so now we have played the roots. So when we add more notes, we're going to add more notes based on the root. Meaning, if given a root, this is math again, algebra. If you have a root, then you have a bunch of notes related to the root. So if I start counting from the root, for example, and I count notes, root, the next note would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 would be the same note. That's just music theory, okay? So when we talk about the notes, they're based on that root. We're going to focus on the 3rd and the 5th note. And we're going to learn where those are on the bass, because if you know where one is, you should magically know where the other one is, okay? So roots and fifths is the first one that we're going to do. Roots and fifths is like the sound of polka music. So if I'm on C, now I'm going to play C with my index finger. In fact, all these notes we're going to focus on are with the index finger now. So find your C. And the fifth is going to be...
Oh, let's have a quiz, right?
Ooh, yeah.
What
Ooh,
is
yeah.
the fifth of C?
Ooh.
I like to do
Ooh.
pop quiz. C, D, E, F. There's a delay with the chat, so I'm trying to see if I can like give him time to chat in.
Ooh, it's G.
It's G. But anyway.
Yeah, so...
Something that you should be able to kind of count out for yourself.
Right, there we go.
Yeah.
There it is. All right. All right, so yeah, you can count, letters until you get to the fifth. The nice thing about the bass is that it's mathematically sound. So you don't actually have to know what the name is to play it. You just have to know how far. So every time you want to play above, there we go.
Yeah.
The responses are rolling through.
That's right.
Wherever your index finger is, it is down 2 frets and down a note. And you're going to play it with your pinky. So take your pinky 2 frets away from the 3rd fret, then down to the D string, and it's like this little chord. Yeah, there you go.
And then down here.
That will be your fifth. And if your pinky is having a hard time, if you have a small pinky and you can't even press down, then you can even add your other fingers behind it. That's okay. Like an upright bass player will literally use all their fingers to squeeze down on a note. So you can kind of use multiple fingers as long as your pinky is the one on the 5th fret on the D string. So you'll hear this in polka music or mariachi music. And that is the second important note that you can play in a bass line. So if you don't want to play just the root, you play the 5th as well. So taking 3 little birds, we have C, and then play 5th. So let's play C, and 5th, and C, and 5th, and C, and 5th, and C, and 5th. Stop there. Now find your F. F is on the D string, 3rd fret. There it is, 2nd note from the bottom. Then put your pinky on the bottom string on the 5th fret, and that's the 5th of F. So here we go, F, 5th of F. F, 5th of F. F.
And what's the 5th of F?
What's the 5th of F?
G, A, B, 5th of F?
What's the 5th of F? Wait for it. See how far our delay is.
Yeah.
All right, so the 5th of F is
C.
F, G, A, B flat,
C.
Okay.
C.
So there's F and C. And then you go back, to C.
C
So
and
then
G.
C and the fifth. C and the fifth. C and the fifth. C and the fifth. Freeze there. Now play G. G is the top string, 3rd fret. And the fifth is the next string, 5th fret. G, C, G, C, G. Or sorry, it's G,
No,
D.
no, no.
It's G,
I know, I know. I
It's
was
G,
like,
D.
I did the pop quiz.
Sorry.
G, A, B, C, D. Okay, G,
Just checking if you guys are paying attention. Just checking. All right, so that's G and the fifth. G and the fifth. G and the fifth. G and the fifth. So on this, we also have what's called the below. You can go if you take your C, you can play the fifth below. I think I wrote this wrong. It says root below. It should say fifth below. If you're playing C here, the fifth below is going to be one string higher, also on the 3rd fret. So here's C, and here's the fifth. C and the fifth, and the C and the fifth. Just talking about fifth going below the note.
Okay.
So the low version is above. I know that's confusing. C, fifth, C, fifth. But we're not going to concern ourselves with that for this this exercise we're about to do. Just think about the fifth above, which is the chord we've just been working on. So I'm going to loop the... It's fine. T is important. So I'm going to loop the 3 little birds right here. So you can follow along. You can already try to play the roots and the fifths. We're going to play, I'll speak it with you. We're going to play root, rest, fifth, rest. Root, rest, fifth, rest. Just really easy. It's going to sound like kind of like the country version of 3 Little Birds. So 1, 2, find your C, 2, ready, go. C, fifth, C, fifth, C, fifth, C, and now F, 'cause it's F, fifth, F, back to C now. C, fifth, C, fifth, singing no worry, fifth, C, fifth, a thing, fifth, C, and fifth, now F. Every little thing is gonna be all C's, right? Fifth, C, fifth, rise up this morning, fifth,
Going to the G.
C, get ready, top string G, rising sun, back to the C, little birds, yeah, fifth, C, down to F, my doorstep, fifth of fifth, back to C, singing C, fifth, C, up to G, rising sun, and jump all the way to F, singing jump.
Down.
This is my message
Back to
to
C.
see you, and stop on C. Yeah, that's it. So that's the easy version of if you have a swing song like 3 Little Birds or Sweet Caroline or something that has your typical swinging rhythm or jazz, Fly Me to the Moon, something that has this sort of strum pattern, you can not only play just the roots, you can play root fifth if you want to spice it up a little bit. All right, so now you have more notes. When we add more notes and more rhythms, know that we are already embellishing. We're already creating something new. And again, that's not the base level of your job. So if ever you're taxed by oh, these extra notes are so hard, just forget about them. You don't need to do them. I tell my students, play bass like you're bored all the time. Play bass like you're trying to do something extra from what you're told to do, because that's how you creatively explore. So if you're told to just play roots, okay, play the roots, and then sneak in a little fifth here and there. See if it works. And then, from there, you'll add more notes, you'll add more rhythms. You will eventually, when I play bass, I feel like I'm running like a simulation experiment where I'm just like, oh, let's add a little bit of roots, a little bit of fifths, a little bit of this rhythm, a little bit of that rhythm, and I'm just kind of, it's like a maze almost. It's like just pick different, choose your own adventure notes until you create a song.
Do you think about it in terms of pattern, or you think about it in terms of just like math?
It's a lot of pattern. It's a lot of math in the sense that you always know that you need to go to the root. So I start there, and then from there I have all these options based on where the root could go. So I could go root fifth. I could go, if you follow along in the packet, go root third fifth. I could do all sorts of things. I could change the rhythms up. And then I just kind of spin it through the kind of the machine. I just see what comes out.
Right.
So with root fifth, I'll just show you a couple more examples because I know we're almost to the end of it. So I'll kind of just kind of display some of the other things you can look at in the packet, and then we'll have time for questions.
Yeah.
So that was root fifth, and that was root rest fifth rest, right? That's one of the rhythms that we talk about. Now you can try the next one. Actually, this is on that page, huh? If you turn the page, there's actually 3 little birds and the rhythms that we played.
Yeah, where he wrote out.
Yeah,
root,
so that
rest,
was root, rest, fifth rest. That's what we just played. The second thing you can do is root, fifth, fifth. Root, fifth, fifth. Root, fifth, fifth. That sounds like this. So find your C, find your fifth, and now you just have to dial it in. Root, fifth, fifth. Root, fifth, fifth. 1, 2, ready, go. Root, fifth, fifth. Root, fifth, fifth. Root, fifth, fifth. Root. Now F. Root, fifth, fifth. Root, fifth, fifth. Back to C. If you get lost, just find that root. C. C. Down to F. It's my message to you. And stop. And that's a new rhythm that fits the swing, but it's virtually the same notes. So if you had any other songs that had the swing rhythm, you could apply that particular rhythm and that particular configuration. No matter where you put your index finger, you can always find that fifth. Move along from there. Okay, so just to add one more thing before I take questions, that's root fifth. The next thing we'll go through I'm Yours, and I'm Yours has 4 notes. It has C here. We're gonna go up to G, and then we're gonna play a different A. We're going to play A on the 5th fret of the E string. So if you have your ook, this fits nicely, because that's where you are. All right? And then F is going to be 1st fret. And that 1st fret is hard to squeeze. 1st fret is always a hard fret to squeeze, just because it's so close to the nut over here. So again, C, 3rd fret A string. Jump up to G. 2 frets to the right for A. 1st fret for F. Now, if you did that with your index finger, you can now go root, fifth, fifth on each one. Root, fifth, fifth, root, fifth, and up to G. Root, fifth, fifth, root, fifth, right for A, 5th fret. A, 5th, 5th, A, all the way down to F. 1, root, root, fifth, fifth, root, root, fifth, fifth, back to C, C. And I would switch my fingers because that's how I know the chord. Up to G. See, so I'm playing now a bunch of chords, but I'm still applying the same rhythm and the same notes. Root, root, fifth, fifth. Root, root, fifth, fifth, root, root, fifth, fifth. Nice thing about this is it doesn't matter whether you have a major or a minor chord. The root and the fifth are the same for both. So even though some of the chords in I'm Yours, A minor is a minor chord, you don't need to change. To look ahead in U basics, and maybe this will be the next workshop, part 2, right?
Part 2
is talking about how to play the root, third, and fifth. Now you can learn this on your own. You just need a different finger configuration. So if I'm playing C with my middle finger, oh yeah, to do this chord you need to play C with your middle finger. Right. Then the third is going to be 2nd fret on a string below. On the D string, 2nd fret with my index finger. That's called the third. And then pinky on the 5th fret is the 5th. So again, middle finger, 3rd fret, C, 2nd fret, D string, E, that's the 3rd, and then pinky, G. Now I can play root, root, 3rd, 5th, root, root, 3rd, 5th. Root, root, 3rd, 5th, root, root, 3rd, 5th, root, root, 3rd, 5th, Christmas without you. Yeah. So you could take 3 little birds and learn that pattern, middle, index, pinky, works everywhere that you have 2 strings to play on. So you can play it on C, you can play it on F, you can play it on G, master those, and then you just have to apply to Don't Worry About a Thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be all back to C. Singing don't worry about a thing. F, 'cause every little thing is gonna be all C, right? Rise up this morning, up to G, smile with rising sun. Back to C, 3 little birds. Down to F, pitch by my doorstep. All with that middle finger, singing sweet songs. Up to G, melodies pure and true. Down to F, singing, this is my message. And here's C, U, and end on C. All right, thank you guys so much. Yay! That is the workshop. So we have some time for questions, and if you have any, individual questions, you can also hit me up on email or on Facebook.
Ukulenny.
Ukulenny.
Ukulenny can teach you on Skype too.
Yeah, if you want a private lesson, I'm available for those on Skype as well. If you have, you want a session just to work over those U-based kinks. So taking all your questions. Thank you, Cynthia, for inviting me to your house.
Always.
And doing the jam here.
Karen had asked, does it take practice to stop buzzing on some note?
Yeah, and I actually found that when I first played the fretted bass, I was buzzing a lot. And the buzz comes from if you go over the fret, you'll get a buzz. So if you're getting a lot of buzzes, oftentimes it's just because you're not in the middle of the fret. If you're too close to this fret, you'll hear a buzz. If you're too close to any of the frets, if your finger is touching a fret, you'll get a fret buzz somehow. So the other thing is maybe you're not pressing hard enough when you're trying to squeeze down to the fretboard. That's the other thing that can cause a buzz. Is see, I'm not applying enough pressure, so I'll get that.
It's the same as with the uke string. If you don't
Yeah.
press hard enough, then you don't get.
Right.
Then you don't have a. I don't know. You have the string flush against the
Yeah,
fretboard.
against the fretboard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you got a mabuhay.
Mabuhay! Salamat po.
Great.
Ano pa?
This video will still will stay up, so you can review it and watch it over and over and get your basics down until we get to basics part 2. Yeah.
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 Do you have a basics part 2?
No, I mean there a lot of a lot of the packet we haven't covered yet.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So that would be like we would finish the packet.
Cool.
Let's take a long time.
We can definitely do that.
All right.
Quick tip for sliding on rubber strings.
Oh, that is hard. That is one of the things that I have trouble with on the rubber strings, with sliding and also just the strings rolling around.
Yeah,
It's
it's
hard
true.
to
Under
control
your
the
fingers,
strings. I think sometimes you have to press harder, and then the other thing is I don't know if they have like if you should like put lotion on before you play a U bass with rubber. I don't know if that's a thing. I might ask somebody else. I don't know because I always play metal. But when I play rubber, I find that I also stick against the strings quite a bit. So yeah, I don't know. There's room for an inappropriate joke there, but I'll hold back.
Leave that for another
I'll leave
time.
that for another time.
Will you be at Oakland Airport next Friday?
I won't be there this Friday. Next Friday, I'm flying to New York for the Toy Fair.
Oh.
So I'll be in New York City, so I won't be at the airport. No, I think it's going to be a while before I find myself at the airport again. Sad. I know. But
because he's busy.
I know. I'm pretty busy for these first couple of months. You know, we just had NAMM, which was a huge deal, and now New York, and then Florida in March, and yeah, lots of stuff.
Carolyn says, inspired to buy an inexpensive bass. What do you recommend? An amp too.
Right, and like I said, Kala, and of course I'm endorsed by Kala, so I have to say that they're the best. There are other U-bass type instruments out there. So, you know, do whatever's within your budget. I think most of them are decent. Kala has done a nice thing in opening a entry-level set of U-basses. So, you know, anywhere from $200 to start is the cheapest one. Like I said, this one that I have, the Journeyman with the F-holes, and I got this. Some of you guys know that I love my archtop ukuleles, so I had to get one that matches. And this is really nice. A black Journeyman bass. This comes standard with round strings. So if you want the metal strings, you can get this model with them already standard. Also, there's other models that come either round or rubber, so you can choose that. As far as an amp goes, I would just make sure I get something that is a bass amp. Make sure you're not just getting something that's an electric guitar amp. Like, you know, they make really cheap bass amps for like $50 to $100. I know Acoustic brand has something like that. What we're using is Cynthia's speaker, which I also have this. I love this speaker. If you have a uke club, this Behringer amp is so good because it's battery powered.
I can send a link for it.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. It plugs into the wall. It has 2 inputs. So, you know, you can plug in your bass, you can plug in someone's uke into the same speaker. The nice thing about a speaker is that it has maximum frequency, meaning it will cover all frequencies that get plugged into them. So, you know, having a bass and a uke in the same speaker is going to sound fine. Versus if you have a bass amp, then you're only going to hear bass sounds, and that will make the uke sound weird. And if you have a uke amp, you'll make the bass sound weird.
Yeah, I'll send a link for that one. This one's super
and it's so good for groups. Like, I've gone like busking with ukulele players, and you just plug in your bass right into it. It's battery. It'll last for 6+ hours. It's really good for the street.
Vicky's asking to meet you in Florida. Can we meet you?
Oh, I don't know. Oh yeah, actually you can. Yeah, because most of my travels are with Kala for conferences and like trade shows. But this one is the Beach and Boards Fest at Cocoa Beach, Florida. So it's held by the Ron John Surf Shop. It's right there in Cocoa. And I'll be there March 14 and 17 through 17. So they'll have a bunch of events. I'll be playing, ukulele demos in the store, and I'll also be teaching an ukulele lesson. So there should be
at the Ron John Surf Shop.
At the Ron John Surf Shop. So there should be more details coming through. Okay. We're supposed to make a promotion, like if you buy a uke at Ron John's, you get a free lesson.
With you?
With me, yeah. Ooh. Well, it's like a group lesson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but something will happen in Florida, and I'll get that out on my Facebook.
Yeah. Find Lenny on Facebook, Ukulenny, also on Instagram.
Yes.
Also on YouTube, although he never posts there anymore.
I'm not in the YouTube world anymore. I'm not a fellow YouTuber.
Wendy's asking what looper we're using.
Oh yeah. So I'm using the Digitech Jamman. If I can pick it up.
Yeah.
I think I can.
Show it off. Chewy's like, what?
What's happening? This is my bed. So this is blue pedal right here with 4.
Oh shoot!
It's all right. Don't worry about
it. Okay.
It's got four buttons, which is nice.
I use a Roland. Loop pedal.
Roland has a loop pedal. I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, it's old school.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Now we're just falling apart over here.
I know.
Yeah, and I like it because it's super basic. You could get a lot of other loop pedals that have a little more, you can adjust the volumes of each loop and things like that. Like Boss has a pedal that has a lot of stuff, but Digitech is nice. It's just simple. I can plug in my mic into it. I have 2 channels to go in. It's nice.
Oh no, mine's Boss.
Oh, yours is Boss.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, it's Boss.
All the Roland investors are gonna.
Karen said,
dropping chairs.
I picked up an Ion. Is that an amp at Costco for $100? That is 100 hours of battery
And 2 drink holders.
Bluetooth microphone and 2 drink holders.
Yeah, the Ion is pretty good. I mean, when you buy an amp, you're gonna want to focus on how big it needs a Patreon.
Lenny needs a Patreon.
I don't know. Think about it.
Just. I'm gonna keep inviting him back to my Patreon, and I'm gonna
pay Cynthia.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay him.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it works.
We have a good relationship here.
But isn't he such a great teacher?
Thank you. Yeah, so with the bass amp, the size of the speaker is important because the bigger the speaker, the more bass reflex it has. So like if you buy a 6-inch bass amp, it's not gonna sound the same as an 8 or a 10-inch bass amp. So the Ion, I don't know how big that speaker is, but it will probably be good for a bass. If it's one of those, big square ones.
Right.
Just make sure you get something big enough.
Yeah, they usually wind up being really big though.
Right.
These amps, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Enjoyed Ukulenny live last night on Facebook.
Oh yeah, it was live. Thank you. Yes.
A lot of my patrons follow you all the time.
Oh good.
They like to share immediately. Lenny's live.
Very good. Yeah. All right. Shall we call it a day?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the interwebs and bass on.
Lenny will be at our Beatles Jam.
Oh yeah.
And it's on his birthday.
On my birthday, so
April
don't forget.
14th. So
save the date.
Bring lots of presents.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Keep the feedback coming, and we will arrange for part 2.
Ooh.
Right? Sometime?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. You want to play something to play them out? I don't know. All right. Thanks for tuning in with us. That's our show.